Hey guys, thank you for checking into another Convicted podcast. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Thomas. He is a guitarist and vocalist from Secret Keeper. Today we are going to be talking about the long scope view of running a band, possibly running a business, and all the importance of networking as a band. Thank you so much for checking in. Let's get started.
I don't sleep right anymore. I don't sleep anymore. And I sold my soul so I could talk to ghosts. And you don't have to. You don't have to be alone. And heavyweight the road that dragged me down. No saving grace. How sweet the sound.
Thomas, go ahead and tell me a little bit of your story of Secret Keeper. Like, what do you play? What do you do with it? And how did you guys meet and get started?
Sure. I'm Thomas. I am the guitarist for Secret Keeper. I also write a lot of the music. I also kind of have become the band manager. I do a lot of the graphic design work for it. I'll do all the demo work for the most part. What else do I do? Um, Basically, a good chunk of what you would do in a band. That's what I do. But
Gotcha.
we started back in 2013. It was with my best friend Kyle. We were in a previous band together, weren't really feeling it, so we decided to start a whole new project, and we came up with Secret Keeper. I don't even know. We just decided we wanted to do a different genre, and we just kind of went from there. Wrote a few songs. We knew we wanted to be a band, and we knew we wanted to be serious. So it was kind of we were both on the same page right out at the gate, and we just work really well together. He does a lot of the lyrics, all the melodies are him. He has a lot of the creative input for his like band direction or any like music video kind of stuff like that. He's amazing at that, and
Gotcha.
then I just take my knowledge and apply his creativity, and then together we make a pretty good team, in my opinion.
So right now you are a two-piece, correct?
Technically, we're a two-piece. We just have quote unquote fill-in members to take care of the rest of the duties.
Gotcha.
And there's a bit of a long story with that, which I'm sure we'll get into throughout
Okay.
this pod. Technically, we're a two-piece right now, which is fine. It leaves a lot of it kind of takes away I guess the group aspect of being in a band, but at the same time, it makes things slightly easier when you only have two people to contend with as far as creative direction or getting things done, in my opinion.
Right. It's kind of like it's able to be a tighter ship because you don't have to necessarily get like approval from everyone if they want to be a part of that with like, I guess you could you could say like the executive decisions of the
Yeah,
band.
right.
So I totally understand with it being a two-piece as compared to like we've been a six-piece for a long time. So with Fourth Teller, and so like sometimes to be able to get the approval with everything and making sure everyone's on the same page, getting everyone on the same schedule and everything. I totally understand that it could be a lot faster with that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a juggling act when you have more than one person. Everything becomes a lot more difficult, and the more people you add, the harder and harder it gets. But
Absolutely.
it's all part of the fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. So are you guys touring at the moment?
Yes, we just did a short weekend run. We haven't done a tour in a little bit because of just all the member changes and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting back on track. We have a full length coming out, so we wanted to do like a sort of trial run. We did a shorter tour, make sure we were still good with everything, make sure all the fill-in members were solid, everything was pretty good. We have an upcoming tour in December, and then we have several other tours planned out for next year, which I'm very excited about for a few of them.
Very good. So how do you guys do your booking with that? Do you have like an agent? Do you do DIY?
We used to do DIY since we started up until just this year. Actually, we joined with the Arkham agency.
Okay.
So they've been handling all of our booking for the most part. We did a couple little things here and there, but for the most part, they're handling that, which is
Awesome.
great because that's not something I like to do and something Kyle doesn't like to do either. So it works out really well.
Be able to give it to somebody else. So for the sake of who's listening, when it came to the DIY aspect, how did you guys get started with touring and how did you continue that?
Right. So a few years ago, uh, like 2013, 2014, there was a lot of new Facebook groups, and there are a lot of people on Facebook actually that wanted to tour, wanted to set up shows a lot. And Kyle at the time, he's very good at talking to people. He's very good at networking, and he would just talk to people on Facebook, and he would set up these shows with other people in other states. You just get to talking to them. They'd be in a band, check us out, return likes, all that. I think they used to call them ladders. They do like these ladders where you had to like,
Really?
you would like the person's band above you and the person below you, and then everyone would end up like liking the entire like people on this ladder of bands
Huh.
and Facebook groups or posts or whatever. It was a really cool thing that kind of
I've
died
never heard of
away.
that one.
Yeah, it was really
Interesting.
neat. Kyle met a lot of people that way, and then we played with all these people that we met on Facebook. It was a really cool experience to kind of have this have this like friendship online, then meet them in person. Is really neat, and that's
Definitely,
just
that's a
kind of how
really
we
cool
got into it.
opportunity.
Yeah, it was really neat. That's how we got into it. We just played the social media networking game, and it happened to work out for us.
How did you keep track of all that?
Yes.
Yes, you just did.
Keep track of it in the sense of like all the connections specifically.
Yeah, like
or-
how did you keep track of like being able to know who you're talking with, like who goes where, when you're trying to book, like about how long were your tours back when you were doing DIY?
So when we were doing DIY, we started off with, I think our first couple tours were like maybe like 1 week. Then we jumped up to 2 weeks. And I think the longest DIY tour we did was about 3 weeks long, which was a little stressful as a DIY thing just because you're doing everything yourself. If a show drops, you have to take care of it. There's no one else to take care of it for
Mhm.
you. And I actually didn't do a lot of the DIY booking. I was just kind of I did more of the tour, like a TM, tour manager kind of job. And Kyle was taking care of the booking, and he would just do everything on his phone. He's actually very like good at that kind of thing. Like he keeps things organized. I think he probably used his notes on his phone, and he had all
Okay.
the Facebook events were all lined up and everything. So he would just monitor that and had all the Facebook messages. Did very little email because we all had access to the email, and I would see if he was talking to someone for that. He was mostly doing Facebook Messenger just because it was quicker at the time. Because you
Mhm.
could send an email and it might be a day or two before you get a response. Whereas if you're trying to book a show or recover from a show that was dropping on the tour, it was just a lot faster to fire a Facebook message because then you knew if the person saw it as well, and you know
Yes.
if they were just trying to ghost you when you're in the middle of the country.
Leaving you on red.
Yeah. So that was his go-to. From what I know from just loosely dabbling in that, because that was his forte. I was more on the like in the moment kind of management, so to speak.
Gotcha. Kind of like the fireman, the one that puts out the fires if needed.
Yeah, that was me.
Absolutely. So yeah, it sounds like that was a lot on you guys' plate. Like being able to distribute all of that information that you needed between two people seems like it would be a lot of work and everything. But you kept at it, so
Yeah, we did. We pulled through it. At the end of the day, like it's a lot of work, but we were focused on being able to travel somewhere, being able to play music somewhere, and that made it worth it because it didn't matter if the show was not as good as it could have been because something dropped,
Mhm.
or just because it's a DIY tour and we weren't playing a stadium or whatever. That wasn't. We never went into Secret Keeper wanting to be a huge band. It was more about we're going to make music we enjoy and that connects with people, and we want to see the country, see the world, just go wherever the music kind of takes us rather than trying to be a bigger band. We just kind of worked at it consistently and just be genuine about it. We didn't want to try and like sell something essentially.
Right. So it sounds like you were trying to do it more for the experience side.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. And I really think that touring as a band can buy you so many experiences. And by
Yes.
buy you, I mean like it gives you that opportunity. Not necessarily that it like pays a lot for you to be able to do it, but like if you're able to just break even,
Right.
especially starting out, like if you're able to just break even, those experiences that you get with breaking even, like you wouldn't be able to do that breaking even wise without that opportunity.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I completely agree. Like we've made money on a few tours. We've broken even on several more, and that's totally fine by me because it's essentially a free vacation at that point. You're
Exactly.
breaking even, so it doesn't
Definitely.
get much better than that.
So speaking of the breaking even side, what do you guys do to be able to save money while you're on the road? Like, what's something that other people might want to like consider when trying to save money on the road?
I think the biggest thing that I did personally, just because I have picky eating habits, I don't like eating out all the time. So I like to, me and at the time our other guitarist Brian, we would buy groceries essentially. We try not to get anything that was like, we try to do like non-perishable stuff, and probably limit our spending, like buying a meal out maybe like every other day or like every 3 days or something like that. So that helped a lot, just buying groceries, because that's much cheaper than eating out. Another thing we did was we were just super hard on ourselves. And at the time we had a smaller vehicle, so we would just drive during the night and then show up at the venue or very near the venue and just sit there and kind of not really go anywhere, which sounds kind of boring, but you just walk. So we would walk to other places
Hmm.
nearby, whether it's a Starbucks or a store, what have you, anything like that. So just those little things saves you money. You're not driving, you're not spending gas. Um, we're kind of divas. Sometimes we would get hotels, like probably like every third, fourth night or something, just to shower. I know a lot of bands do they get like a gym membership, and you could save a lot of money doing that. We
Uh-huh.
just enjoyed having a bed actually once in a while. If we couldn't find somewhere to stay, if we found someone that was willing to offer their home, whether it was something like the Petra House in Georgia or just any
Uh-huh.
of our friends, we would take that, and then we wouldn't have to get a hotel. So that was kind of one way to save money that way. But personally, I think you have to have a real bed every maybe 3 days just for that recovery, because I felt I would get drained just from sleeping in the van or kind of just driving constantly and then
Right.
being homeless essentially. So having like bed, having that nice shower every couple, like 2 times a week or whatever, would just like, you'd feel like a reborn individual.
Like a
You're just
morale
like, oh,
booster.
yeah, a morale booster. So it was good for that. It was nice for that whole aspect. And you weren't spending too much. If it's split between 4 to 5 people, like a hotel is really only about maybe $20 per person on, if you really want to get down to it. So
Right. Right. Well, definitely, and I want to give a huge shout out to someone you mentioned was Petra House. Like
yes,
we
love
stayed
them.
there 2, 3 different times when we were on the road too.
Yep.
And to any bands that are listening, like if you were trying to travel through Georgia, check them out. I think they have a Facebook page. They might have an Instagram too. Just look up,
Yeah, they do
what is
both.
it? Is it just like at Petra House? I think
On
it'll come up.
Instagram, yeah, I believe it is
I think
just
it'll come
Petra
up.
House.
Are you looking it up right now?
Yeah, it's Petra underscore house on on Instagram,
Awesome.
and they're wonderful people. Highly recommend going
Very
over, just
loving. Very
supporting them,
loving.
anything like that. They're the greatest, some of the greatest
100%.
people ever.
Definitely. So switching the conversation a little bit, when it comes to when you guys are performing and you're going to all these different places because you're trying to
Mhm.
play like every night, how do you guys engage with the audience while you're on stage and off stage?
On stage and off stage. Well, I guess what we like to, in an ideal world, if we have a photographer with us and we'll have content before getting to any city, we like to do some promotion or just create some conversation, whether it's as simple as just posting like a music video that's out already on the event page, or posting a specific kind of post related to the city we're going to with some footage from the show previously, anything to kind of
Uh-huh.
build some excitement or just try and get that engagement with people in the area. Because
Right.
if they might not even be aware that you're coming, so just any little thing to try and get some buzz going, kind of as a precursor. Once we get there, usually I'll just go like full on, get everything set up, kind of get the merch sorted, because that's
Hmm.
my duty, and then Kyle will take over networking and he'll just mingle in the crowd. And I the joke is always that, oh, it's a typical vocalist thing, so he's not helping load in anything, but he really is doing stuff. He's talking to people, he's just trying to engage and make that connection with people. And I'm not the greatest at that. So I do what I am really good at and organize all the equipment, get all the merch set up, make sure that's all good to go while he is interacting with people. Because at the end of the day, no one cares about the rest of the band. They only care about the vocalist anyway. So he's
Right.
perfect for that.
Well, I mean, I think it's important that you guys are working on your strengths. You know,
Right,
like if you're
yeah.
saying that you're the
That's
more
the
the
main
organized one, then I mean, you're doing the organization stuff. Cool, go for it.
Exactly.
And the fun little diss stereotype that you said about the vocalist, at least he's engaging with people, because the difference
Yes.
is unfortunately some vocalists, like, they just don't even show up anywhere until, oh, they're on stage and nope, they're gone. Like,
That's very
it's like,
true.
what? There's so many other
No,
people that want to talk to you and like hang
Kyle
out
is
and whatever.
great about engaging with people. Whether he's engaging beforehand, then during the set, he's very good at just not trying to be like that hype man vocalist, just really trying to be down to earth. Just, hey, I'm here, like, let's have a good time, kind of just a good, very like humble kind of vocalist approach, which might not be the best for some genres. Maybe some people just want that hype. For us, it's just, we're just down to earth and we're play sad boy music. So just being low key, anything like that. Then after we play, Kyle usually goes to the merch table. He hangs out, he talks to all the people, and
Gotcha.
it's really great. I think it's a nice little connection thing. It keeps it
Good.
less of this kind of pedestal of having a vocalist or any band being like this, like they're better than other people kind of thing. Like, we're just us. We just hang out, we play music.
Cool.
Please come talk to us, hang out, anything like that.
Glad to hear that. Yeah, speaking of the hype side that you said, I think it's important to note more on what you were saying about, like, you're trying to create hype like before you get there, like in the Facebook event page and everything. I just wanted to like hit on that a little bit more, because like I really think it would help bands tremendously if they're trying to engage with the people that are there, like not just like posting the photos and videos and stuff, which does help, because some of them don't do that, and then they're like, why did nobody show up or anything? You didn't create any hype. I mean, it's partly on the bands too, not just the promoter to do that. Like, because if you look boring because you're not posting anything, then like you're not necessarily going to be as interested in coming out. But what I really would love to see is bands engaging with the discussions that are happening like on and around the event page.
Oh yeah.
Like if people are saying things and like people from the band are like, yo, that's awesome, like we'd love to hang out with you while we're there because we're gonna be playing or whatever, like, oh, really cool, like all of a sudden instant connection before you even get there.
Yeah, it's like
Totally
making friends rather than trying to make fans, I think, is probably a good way to put that.
Definitely, absolutely. Well, I'm really glad to hear that you guys are doing that and creating that hype, and I really think that if people apply that are listening, I think they'll grow even further while they're doing that. So what would you say is the importance of having merch for bands?
I think merch is very important. I think that's where you make your most of your money, especially if you're touring. There's a lot of different views and arguments on digital distribution and how that take a whole other podcast to discuss that in depth. But you can only, I guess it kind of depends on the band you are. In our case, I'd say we sell more merch on the road than we do online, which some bands it's probably the opposite, or maybe they sell a lot of merch. We've just never been a band that sells a ton of merch. A lot of people listen to our music, and for a not very big band, like we're pretty small, I feel like we have a pretty decent amount of like reach and like maybe streams online considering our size, which is cool. So it's neat to be a band where people are more interested in the music, but you definitely make more money if you're able to make that t-shirt that people like and people want to buy it. Because I know some bands they'll do a merch drop and they'll sell out like instantly, and I think that's really cool. And I think that's a testament right there as to how important merch can be for a band. It's probably just a matter of finding what your audience likes and maybe not catering to their every whim, but definitely do what your fan base wants to an extent. Because if you're trying to push something that nobody's responding to, then maybe you should adjust your model or whatever you're trying to sell, whether that be merch or music or what have you.
And what would you say has been some of your best like approach to selling merch? Like Like, has it been like shirts or hats, or what do you think like has like really reached out to people the most?
I want to say, in our experience, we've probably sold shirts the most, and I think one of our shirts that sold the best was a was it Drake? He had the 1-800 hotline. We did a rip of that. We had 1-800
Really?
like sad boys or something like that, or and then had a
Oh,
little tiny
nice.
sea keeper at the bottom, and everyone bought that. Like we couldn't, and then it had a spike, and then that meme kind of died, so then no one bought that anymore. That was probably one of our best sellers. We had another one at the time when we first started, and melodic hardcore was kind of really big. Everyone was doing floral print shirts, and we did a floral print, and we just wrote. I don't know if you curse on this
It's
podcast,
fine.
because we did sellout shit at the top of that. It's kind of like
Okay.
a tongue in cheek, just like, yeah, here's our sellout shirt because floral designs are in. So, and that
Oh,
was a
that's
really
so
good seller
funny.
because we were kind of making fun of ourselves. So here we're a melodic
That's
hardcore band. We did
oh, I
all the
haven't even
stuff you're
thought of
supposed to
that.
do, and we just did a here's our sellout, like, and everyone bought it because it was funny.
Did
And
it and it said that on the shirt?
yeah, it said in floral. It had sellout shit and then a big SK, and that was it. It was on a white shirt. It was great.
That's
It was.
beautiful. Oh my gosh. I'm already considering things now. So thank you for that idea. That's so funny because I know some people that are like, "Oh, quality is everything," and like, I mean, I think according to what you were saying about like the audience, I feel like quality is judged upon by the audience more than the author.
Yes.
Because
Agreed.
if your audience is saying, that's not really what we want so much, then what you feel is quality. And I mean, by all means, if you want to write it for you, write it for you. If you want to make the merch because you feel that's
Oh,
you
for
or
sure.
whatever, go for it, obviously. But it is something to be said about considering the audience and what they want for quality, because they're the ones saying what is quality from you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to sell merch to make money, then you have to cater to your audience. If you're
Right.
trying to sell merch for art, then it doesn't have to be what your audience wants. Like, do it for you, make it how you want it. If you're
Right.
trying to do, I don't know, some super high end or even just maybe normal merch, but you want to do it a certain way because that's your passion. Like, no, we only do the merch this way. Do that. But if you're trying to make money off it, then you have to market it and sell it accordingly to your audience.
And here's what I would say for you bands listening, if you guys are arguing about this right now and you're like, no, we need to be able to sell more merch. No, we need to keep the art. Do both.
Yes, you can have more than
Try
one
it.
shirt.
Try both. See what happens. And you know what? It doesn't mean so what? If you sell all the sellout shirts or whatever, that doesn't mean you have to switch to all that. You can still keep who you are and your band and your
Yeah,
quality with the merch. Just try both. And
for
like
sure.
maybe some of those sales will help you along the way to replace that tire that pops or whatever. So
Hmm.
it's just something to consider because you always need like an emergency phone when you're on the road.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of that, I don't even have that as a question. What has been your worst situation when you're on tour and how did you overcome it?
Oh, I think this is my favorite story of all the
Okay,
stories.
let's
No,
do
or
it.
maybe there's two. There's two stories, three stories. This one stands out as probably number one because we did a tour in the winter. And winter tours are always hard. It doesn't matter just the change in temperature, whether you're going from a southern state to northern state, you're getting hot, cold, hot, cold. So you're bound to get sick. It's just going to happen. Just accept the fact you will get sick on a winter tour unless you're superhuman and very healthy, but you're not ever healthy, extremely healthy on a tour. So we uh, we had to drop our last date because Kyle and myself and our other guitarists, not as much as us two, were just really sick. It was to the point where our other guitarist was like, "You two need to go to a clinic like today. We're going to a clinic. We're in Albuquerque, New Mexico." So we went to the clinic, got some medicine. I started feeling better. Kyle had like um, a really bad like chest infection and some other stuff going on, and he was
Oof.
just really sick, and it was just bad for his voice to keep singing. So we made the decision that we're going to drop the last day of the tour and just focus on driving home
Hmm.
to get better. And our drummer, bless his heart, wasn't sick at all on the tour and waited to get home to get sick. because he's one of those people.
Bless his heart. He chose that life.
He did. So we did a couple longer stints. It was a long drive from Albuquerque to Florida. I think is about 24, 26 hours. I don't remember. When you have a trailer, it's even slower, and we did at that time. So we were trucking along. Brian was doing a lot of the driving because I had just gotten medicine. I was just kind of getting on the come up, but I was still resting a lot. So he was just going to knock out a bunch of driving. We did really well going from Mexico into Texas. We were cruising along. It was looking like we were going to get home like a little bit earlier than expected, actually. And then between Dallas and Fort Worth, I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. I was in the passenger seat up front. Brian was still driving. And I like just woken up. I was just kind of keeping him company or whatever. And then there was this violent shaking of the vehicle. And then we looked and there were like sparks flying. And I was just, my first, like, I was just thinking, oh, it's just a flat tire. Like, it's not a huge deal. And Brian held it together. He like got us off the side of the road very safely. And just as we pulled over, we were kind of like, all right, I guess we'll have to like patch a tire or something. We looked out the windshield, like out the front window, and we just see a wheel fly down the highway. And I was like, well, that's not a flat tire. So we went out and our trailer tire had just like sheared off on the left side. And that was the tire we saw just fly down the highway.
Oh my gosh.
Into the darkness.
Into the dark. Well, I'm glad it happened at that time. Did it end up hitting anybody, or did you find the tire?
No, we called.
It
we
just
had
disappeared.
a U-Haul. We called U-Haul. We said, hey, there's no tire there. We'll send someone. I'll take a look. Like, you don't need to. There's no tire here. I think 2 or 3 hours later, someone showed up and said, yes, there's no tire there. So I said, cool. Then a state trooper came by and just,
hey, you have no tire there.
Yeah, he pretty much said that as well. And he said, do you know where it went? And I said, no, it went that way. And he said, okay. And then he left us. And then several hours later from that, a flatbed truck came, picked up the trailer, took us to a U-Haul that was down the road, and we swapped all our gear over, hooked up a new U-Haul trailer, which if you don't own a trailer, getting a U-Haul is really great for that reason right there. If you do own your own trailer, you can't necessarily do that, but there's pros and cons to that.
Right.
During this entire episode, from losing the wheel, it flying down the highway, to getting a new trailer, moving everything from one trailer to the other trailer, Kyle was asleep this entire like 8 hours. And he woke up and asked, are we out of Texas yet? And we said, no. And here's why. And that's the end of that story.
Like, what are you talking about? We're not out of Texas yet. It's a big state, man.
Yeah.
I feel like you could take almost a whole day to drive through Texas.
It's
it's a bigger state than what people realize unless they live there or have driven through it.
Everything's bigger in Texas, especially Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's is great. If you go to Texas, you have to go to Buc-ee's.
Nice.
That's you're required to go to Buc-ee's.
I will keep them. I don't remember if I saw one when I was in Texas. Because we had 3 shows in Texas. I don't remember a place called Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's?
Yeah, it's a huge gas station. Their logo's a beaver. Like, you can't miss it.
I've seen the beaver. I know what you're talking about now, but I don't think we got to go there. We ended up like missing the opportunity, because like we didn't want to stop necessarily because we had to keep driving type of thing.
Right.
And like we weren't out of gas, or like we filled up not too long ago, or something like that, where we didn't stop at Buc-ee's. Because now I know what you were talking about.
Disappointed.
I'm sorry. Next time we're in Texas, I will do my best. And I'll let you know. I'll call you while I'm there. Like, hey, look where I am, video chat. And
I mean, it's kind of like the cookout of like the South. That's Texas is like, you have to go to Buc-ee's in Texas. You have to go to Sheetz like in the Northeast or whatever.
And then you got to go to Wawa.
Yeah, Wawa. That has to be a thing too.
At least that's here in Florida for us.
Yeah,
so,
Wawa.
And anyone listening, feel free to comment your favorite place to go on tour that you don't have access to normally. Kind of like we always shop at Publix, which is a grocery store down here in Florida. But once you start going up a little bit further north, it disappears. It's not there anymore. So,
it's a sad day.
Yes.
Sad.
Well, I mean, shopping there is a pleasure. So,
yeah.
I mean, no sponsor there.
Publix, sponsor this podcast.
Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing. So, I already kind of asked you about the hardest thing, at least on tour. What was like one of the coolest accomplishments that you would say that you achieved that you were like, yes, we did that thing? Like that was really exciting.
Well, having
Like how did it come about?
this full length come out is a big achievement because we've been working on it for a couple years now, and just between the most ridiculous of circumstances that could ever happen to a band, which someday I'll write a book about it, because it's just, a lot of this stuff is just absolutely like mind blowing. Like that, not that it's that we're blaming the world or whatever on our problems. It's just comical looking back at some of the issues that
Right.
happen. But the full length is a huge accomplishment for me. I've been wanting to do a full length for a while, so I'm glad it's going to see the light of day on December 6th. So
Awesome.
anyone wants to pre-order that or anything, or buy that after this is out, I'm not sure when this podcast will be live, but
Right. Well, I've got to make sure I get it ready before then. So
or the week of, we'll get those first week sales.
yes.
That's been a huge thing for me. There's, let's see, maybe we can do like a secret preview on this podcast.
Ooh,
I think it'll be announced probably by the time this is out.
that's my goal. So
Which is a huge deal for us.
that worked out perfectly.
Yeah, huge deal for us. We have a tour set up for Japan, which I'm very excited about, because that doesn't really happen, especially when you're a
Seriously?
tiny band. Yeah, so we're going to Japan in March. I'm very excited for that
Oh my
one.
gosh.
My inner weeb is just very excited and very, like, no words can describe
Oh, you
how I
found out
feel
you went
about it.
ooh.
But yeah, that's the other big main accomplishment, I think.
Awesome.
So full length and doing a Japan tour.
Seriously. Was that with the booking agency? They hook you up with that?
No, that was right before I was trying to get a tour in the UK. We have a lot of fans there.
Okay.
Still trying to do that, but on a whim, there's been this kid that lives in Japan, and he's bought probably every piece of Secret Keeper merch. Like, he has more Secret Keeper merch than I do, and I play in
What?
the band and I make it.
That's
So,
crazy.
and he's had a really good band, and on a whim, as almost like a joke, I talked to him like off and on Twitter, and I sent him a message saying, could we just come and tour with you guys? Like, if you set up the dates and like let us use your gear, like we'll fly over there and like tour. And he said, are you serious? I said, well, yeah, I mean, we can do it. Like what's a good month? He said, all right, how about March? I was like, okay, sounds good. He's like, all right, we've got everything sorted. We'll have the dates booked. You can use our gear. We'll have transportation. And then he apologized that they couldn't buy our plane tickets as well. And I said, that's very okay. We'll pay for the plane tickets if you're going to do everything else. So that's been going in the works, and it's killing me to not be able to tell anybody about it for the past like month now that it's been set up.
But you can tell it now?
Yes, because
Okay.
I'm guessing by the time this is out, we'll have already announced the that is happening next year, because that's
Awesome.
the plan.
Okay, well, I'll talk to you about that later to make sure
Yeah.
that works out.
It'll be
Otherwise, I'll cut it if I need to. But otherwise, if you're hearing it, then it worked out. So
Yeah, one way or the other. The tour is happening one way or another, whether you hear it on here first or second or not at all, then to be determined.
you heard it here first, folks. Awesome. Well, what is something that you wish or that you think Secret Keeper wishes that you knew earlier as a band?
I want to say, like, should have learned this in our previous band. Probably just that it's really hard when everyone's not on the exact same page. And if people are just a little bit off, it makes things difficult. And then too, sometimes people's opinions change and their life situation changes too. And I think it's important to be able to adapt or to recognize when everyone's not on the same page and
Right.
try to not beat a dead horse, essentially. Because if someone doesn't want to do something, then there's no sense in trying to drag them along to do it. And it can be hard because when you form a band, these are your close friends and almost like your best friends, your family. You're living together in very small, cramped spaces. You get very close. So it's hard to kind of accept that someone has moved on. And I think it's hard for them
Right.
as well to they don't want to, feel bad or make everyone feel bad or make an inconvenience.
Make it
So I
harder and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, which actually makes it harder by trying not to make it harder, which is a weird
Right.
kind of thing. It's kind of like a Band-Aid, just pull it off and kind of move on from there. So I think as a band, it would have been nice to have just been able to adapt to like member changes better, and that's easier said than done a lot of times, because if you have a crucial member, like if Kyle were to leave, Secret Keeper wouldn't be the same. It would have to be, in my opinion, it just wouldn't be the same. Like you could have someone else that sings just as well or even better, but it wouldn't be the same.
Mhm.
So some people, maybe they're irreplaceable, but I like to think that everyone is replaceable, just to keep everyone in check. Like I don't want to put myself on a pedestal, like, oh, I'm the most important member of the band. Like I don't think that's the case. I think everyone has their own role to play. But
Right.
it is nice it would have been nice just to be able to just have the foresight to go, well, this person has different things in their life right now. Like they
Right.
want to get a house, they want to get married or whatever. And just being able to work with them to get a replacement or something like that would be better than just trying to kind of deny that something's going to happen. And then it gets to be that day where they go, well, I can't do this anymore. And now you're left with no one. You have no backup plan.
Right.
And that's what I think hurt us the most as a band. That kind of delayed releasing a full length. It delayed like pretty much everything. And it wasn't the other people's fault. It was just
Hmm.
we weren't planning. We just kind of tried to deny. It'll be like, oh, it's going to work out. It's going to be fine. It's like, well, you should just have a backup plan. Even if it's a temporary fill-in, what have you. I think it's always great to have those backup plans, because you never know. Someone might get sick, and it's a shame to drop an entire tour just because someone's sick or because someone can't get off work because there's something really important, or they have some family emergency. There's a lot of reasons to try and have a plan B, and we didn't have a plan B, and now we do, and that's fine. That's great.
Gotcha.
But what is the saying? Hindsight's 2020. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's how that goes.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that a little bit more then, because I think I'm guessing that some people, when they're starting out a band, they're like, "Oh, this is the band. This is who we are, whatever," and they don't necessarily think that there's going to be like a member change or someone has to leave or whatever.
Hmm.
So let's talk about that a little bit further about being on the same page. How do you have that discussion to make sure that everyone's on the same page, and be able to keep it an open book so that if we have to turn the page, like that's okay. No one's going to be attacked about it. So how did you guys go about that with member changes, and what should other people expect that, like, if they might have to go through a member change, like what goes through that?
So pretty much just whenever we started Secret Keeper, I think Kyle and I were just very upfront of what our sort of ideals as being a band. Like we weren't trying to get to be a Bring Me the Horizon or anything like that. We just wanted to tour. We wanted to play music we like. And it was kind of vague, but it also makes it kind of a little more open. So not putting anyone on the spot. And that was how we initially started. And we had one drummer, and he played a few shows with us. It was great. And then we found that he couldn't tour. And we had one incident. It kind of left us in the lurch a little bit. We had to find a fill-in very quickly. One of our friends graciously learned our set in like a week. It was amazing. So we there was that case, but it was just at that point, maybe he was kind of afraid of us. I don't know. He was younger than us, so we try really hard not to have age be a thing, or like, especially now because we're a quote unquote serious band that tours and stuff. So whenever we have a new member, we just try and like, this is, if you want to do this, like, please, if there's anything that like bothers you or upsets you, just please let us know. Like, we're the most easygoing people, and these are our goals that we would like to accomplish. If you think you would like to be part of that, please let us know. If something changes, please let us know, and we'll work with you to make your life easier and make our lives easier, and just try and keep it like just like an ongoing kind of thing. Like, I like doing even though we have not permanent members now, we have like a semi-permanent revolving fill-in group. We have a group text with them, and we talk, and we just, if it's a little weekly update, like, hey, doing this week, or how's your week going? Like, just seeing how you're feeling. Like, are you still, we have these tours coming up, and get everyone's excitement. Everyone's been pretty good. Like, oh yeah, I'm excited to tour. Very excited to do this. And just trying to keep it open. Like, there's our other guitarist right now. He has an exam that he has to do. So he is on his own accord is going to do his exam, and then fly out to meet us at the first day of the tour, which is,
Okay.
he doesn't have to do that. Like, he could have just said, I can't
Mhm.
play the first date. And we could have just very easily done, well, we can't do the first date. We're going to drop the first date or find someone else to fill in. But
Right.
and we had someone else that was planned to fill in as well, just because we assumed that he wouldn't be able to do the tour, and he was okay with that. But he really wanted to go, so he worked on his schedule because he is on the same page as us and really wants it. So he made it work for him to kind of do this tour, and we didn't ask him to do that. That was just something he chose to do out of the kindness of his heart. And so, not that we're expecting everyone else to do that, but we just try and keep it to just kind of do like you were saying, just have this an open discussion, kind of constantly just get everyone's input on things, even though they're not necessarily official members. They're still like good friends of ours, and they're doing a lot of this. Like, we can cover as much money as we can, but we can only do so much. So it's still on that breaking even kind of level. It's not like we're making gobs of money that we can just pay people. So a lot of there are our friends, and they're just doing it out of the kindness of their heart. And
Right.
so, and we tried it. We very like appreciative of it. Just thank them, like, anything they need to make their lives easier, we try and accommodate them, because even though we are the band, it's not about not trying to be just have a big head or whatever. It's no, you are helping us out, so please let us help you as well. If you need gas money to come to practice, if you need anything like that, try and
Mhm.
just keep it going, keep it easy, not trying to lock them in per se in that case. um I think you can do a similar kind of thing if you're starting out with a band, because you don't, if it's a new band, you have no idea what's going to happen with it. You don't know if
Right.
it's going to be a success, if it's going to be a failure. You don't know how people are going to feel.
Music
Maybe
chemistry.
yeah, that can throw things off. So I think trying to keep things very open initially is a good way to do it, and not put that stress of, no, we got to tour, we got to do this, we got to get that 1,000 likes on Facebook. We got to, like, try to just keep it down to earth, be realistic, not initially, and just kind of get the chemistry flowing, get things. After that, if things get to be more serious, well, then maybe start like jotting down some ideas collectively together, like on a piece of paper, or type it out. Really get those goals. Like, what are our goals as this new band, or as a band currently? Like, what are we trying to do this year? Are we trying to tour more? Are we trying to record more music or write more music? Are we trying to do a combination of everything? And I
Right.
think we did that as well going into when we were getting our friends to fill in. We asked them, we're trying to tour a lot more in 2020, because we have a booking agent now, and we're
Mhm.
really trying to work. So this going into that, can you do this? And we had a lot of the date time frames already planned out for next year, which also helps in making a decision too. If you're able to do that, just be like, we're going to tour on this month, we're going to do another tour this month, can this work for you? Because I think that keeps a lot of stress off the individual, because they have a lot of time to figure out their own personal life schedule if it lines up. And if it doesn't line up, it's so far out ahead, they can say, I can't do that. And that gives you enough time as a band to find someone else that can fill in, if you want to keep
Right.
them as the real member and just have someone else fill in, or if you just have this kind of revolving door of fill-ins, that this roster, if you will, of people that come in and fill in. Then I think just trying to not, I guess, just keep things open, just discuss, talk, communicate. If something doesn't work, talk about why it's not working. If it does work, talk about why it does work. And just constant communication, I think, is key. It's when the bands do the whole, well, we practice once a week and then we don't talk to anybody for like the next practice. I feel like that's kind of detrimental. It kind of makes it not work as well, in my opinion.
Right. It doesn't make it as nice of a working atmosphere, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, you're not really like in cohesion together.
Yeah.
Because
And
if you're able to connect over time, and it's not just about, oh, well, that's just my coworker that I only see when I go to work, which is practice,
yep.
and then I don't talk to them outside of that. I'm assuming that most people, when they have like jobs, even they want to have some sort of positive connection with someone, that even if it's not like they go hang out with their coworkers or whatever, they probably have some sort of like Facebook connection or something.
Yeah.
Like, they
Yeah.
see something that someone shares, they'll probably comment on it or something. Something that's more than just, oh, I only know you at work and that's it. So I totally agree that if it's just practice, if it's just the band, that doesn't sound like that's a really good chemistry.
Yeah, I think, and I would argue that you're probably not all on the same page then, because how could you be
Right.
if you're not even talking outside of this band practice? Like, how can you know what everyone's really wanting to do if you don't know the person? So get to know
Absolutely.
your band people, especially if you're going to be in a van next to them for hours on end.
Oh my gosh, for possibly a month or longer,
Yes,
because our last tour was almost a month long.
it was. It was a long one for you guys.
Yeah. And so that tested some limits in a good way,
I'm sure it did.
not bad. Not bad. And we actually built bunks in the van that time so we could actually sleep in the van a lot easier. Thank God. Because otherwise it's really hard when you're scrunched up.
It was cozy though. It's nice and just snuggle
I don't
with each
know
other.
about that. When you wake up with back pain, I just, it's not.
No, it adds to the experience. That with like the musty, like sweaty smell. It's all part of touring. You have to do no, not be comfortable on tour.
Sometimes it is though. I mean, especially starting out, definitely. Because if you don't start out rough with tour, like that, you need to have the trial by fire. I would say when it comes to
Yeah.
touring, because if you can't survive with like a terrible first tour or whatever,
Oh
if
yeah.
you can't like survive through that and it just really pisses you off to no end, then like maybe touring isn't necessarily for you, and maybe you'll have to have a fill in like you're talking about, and
Yeah.
like you guys can talk about all that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's not an abnormal thing. There's a lot of big bands that have their core members and then they have other touring members. That's not
right.
unheard of. That's pretty normal actually.
Hmm.
Also on a different note or similar note to like the touring thing, I was meeting up with I think this is like 2 years ago now. I was meeting up with one of my artists for Vratim, and we were talking with Matt Greiner from August Burns Red, and they tour in a bus very consistently now.
Hmm.
They're not ever touring in a bus, I think. And at the time he was talking about, he was saying how he kind of missed having those van tours, having because when you're in a bus, it's comfortable, but it's not quite the same atmosphere. And if you want to
Right.
cruise around town or check out other places, you can't go a lot of places in a bus. You just don't fit. You can't do that little like
True.
side trip to a national park kind of thing or whatever
Right.
on your regular
Right.
bus. So I just thought it
That's
was
gonna make
interesting
it
how
harder.
he kind of missed having that smaller tour vibe. But
There's pros and cons to everything with
yeah,
that.
pros and cons.
Definitely. I agree. Well, Thomas, off the top of your head, who is an artist that you've been listening to lately? Any genre?
Ooh, new Counterparts album.
Oh,
It's great.
I just had someone
And
else tell me that too.
Last Dinosaurs,
Really?
because they're great. I love them. I've been
Very
listening to them
cool.
for years. I saw
I
them
actually have
live for
not
the
heard
first
them
time.
before.
They're like an indie rock band from
Okay.
Australia. They played
Cool.
their first, I think, Florida show, definitely first Orlando show, just this past Friday. And I went, I had to go because they're from Australia. And how often we could see a band from Australia that's not huge. So they were great. I don't know. They're just good vibes. It's like, I don't know. I say I play in like a sad music band. They're not sad indie. It has like more upbeat stuff, but they have some sad stuff too. But I don't know. It's just it's a good vibe. It's kind of riffy guitars. It's nice little vocals. I don't know. It's good.
It's kind of like I'm here for the sad, but I stay for the glad.
Yeah. No,
I
they're
have
good.
terrible jokes. It's funny that like so far with these interviews, I haven't really let my bad jokes out as much. Maybe I just have more self-control now. But you said their name is Last Dinosaurs?
Last Dinosaurs. Yes.
Okay. They started before the comet hit. Okay. Um, sorry, it's really bad. So
I
what
bring out
would
the
you
worst in people now.
what would you say Secret Keeper is passionate about as a band?
As a band. Well, we'll limit the band as to just me and Kyle officially for our official answers.
Okay.
My lame answer is we're both passionate about anime. That is the lame answer.
As a band?
As a band, yeah, passionate about anime. Like we've done so many different like anime rip shirts. We've done like 2, I think, over the years. We had a couple other, but that's beside the point.
That's funny.
That's our nerdy passion.
Awesome.
Our real like official passion, I guess, as a band is honestly just like touring, just touring and playing music we enjoy. That's kind of our. It sounds cliche and it's super overdone. So many bands have the same answer, but honestly, we just want to make music we enjoy, and if other people enjoy it too, that's great. We like trying to connect with people on an emotional sense. and then just trying to see this country, see other people. Really,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of the coolest thing too, is to make music that you enjoy and other people enjoy it, and then you get to go out in the world and then meet them in person after they've been listening to you for like a year or two, or even if they just found you. Like, I think that's probably one of my favorite things, and what
Definitely.
I'm probably most passionate about in the band is just to make the music and then have it connect with people, and then connect with those people again in person. And whether
Right.
it's building a friendship, even if it's just meeting them one time or maybe only on tour, that little 5-minute talking, whatever, I think that's great. I really enjoy that. It makes me feel good that other people appreciate my music and my hard work.
Right. And it sounds like you're probably going to be encouraging them along the way too. So
Hopefully.
yeah, I mean, with the connection, I'm pretty sure. So well, that's awesome. So Thomas, tell people who are listening, how can they connect with you? I mean, since you're passionate about connecting with them, how can they connect with you?
I'm on pretty much every social media, Facebook, Instagram. That's probably Instagram is probably my go-to anymore, just
Yeah.
because I hate Facebook. But you have to have it for a band. So I'm on any social media is probably the best connection for me. If you want to connect with the band's also on all the social medias as well. I think I want to say our Facebook, Seerkeeper Band. Then we have Instagram and Twitter, Seerkeeper FL.
Awesome.
And you can always send us a message on there or just comment on anything. We're very good about getting back to you, whether it's me or Kyle. We'll have a conversation. People have messaged us on our Facebook page, just talking about the music. Like, we like doing that. You can talk about anime. You can talk about your problems too. We're not here to we're not professionals at solving problems or like whatever kind of things like that, but we will try. We'll do our best to make you feel better. If there's something that's bothering you in life, we'll listen. We're always in the air for that. You can talk to us at shows too if you have something going on in your life. You have two different perspectives. If you'd like a more how should we say a more Christian perspective, you can talk to me if you want to do that. If you want to talk to and have a more agnostic perspective on life or your problem, you can talk to Kyle, which is, we both get along very well. We have different beliefs. So it's just, our band isn't bound by one type of belief. We will accept you as you are, and we'll talk to you no matter what. So that's
awesome.
Kind of our thing.
That's really cool. Well, thank you so much, Thomas, for your time with being able to do the podcast and everything. And I really think that a lot of the stuff that was on here that we talked about, I really believe that if people apply it, it's going to help them out.
Yeah, I hope so. I really, really hope it does.
Definitely. Any last word, man?
Check out our full length, please. Make me feel good. My mom likes it. My dad likes it, so maybe you'll like it too.
Mom and dad approve. 2 thumbs up.
both our parents enjoy the music, so that should just sell it for you right there.
Huge plus.
But no, very excited about the full length coming out. Very excited about all the touring we're doing next year. If you see that we're coming through, please come talk to us. It's been a pleasure being on this podcast. I enjoy talking to you a lot.
Awesome.
As always. Thank you for this. Thank
all
you
right.
very much.
Thanks, Thomas, and I will see you around for the next show that we end up being at together.
Yeah, we have to play something together at some point. That needs to happen.
Hopefully. Yes. And that's the nice thing about being in the music industry. Sorry, I'm adding like a few more seconds. It's like
PS.
Sometimes you build friendships that last over time because every several months you end up somehow, like, your friend is playing a show, so you go to that one in your hometown, and then you're in their hometown and they go to your show, or you end up both playing the same show, and all sorts of stuff can happen. It's like a small world type of thing.
It is. Music industry is very small. Everyone knows everybody somehow, some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Thomas. I'll see you next time, man.
Just
just want to say a huge thank you for listening in to the Convicted Podcast. It means the world to me that you've taken time out of your day to listen in. I really hope that the information that we talked about and the conversations that we had are going to be helping you. If you have any questions or if you have any comments or anything that you've been applying that's been helping you, please comment or message us or let us know in some way. That way we can start talking about those things as well. If you have any questions to implement into the podcast, we would love to start doing that. Also, huge announcement, we are sponsored by Vratim. They're an awesome company. They make drum shoes and other apparel for musicians of all different types. Check them out. They have a special surprise for you if you follow the link that's in the description to go to their website and check out their stuff. But again, thank you so much for checking into the Convicted Podcast, and we'll see you next time.
My soul,